All right, what's up, everyone? So I did this option spread. I've actually done this option spread a couple times in the past week or so for people who have various questions in their life, and I honestly, this is one of my favorite spreads because these options spreads really does leave things in the hands of you guys a bit more. And what I mean by that, tarot obviously is just like tuning into energies. However, sometimes during readings, there can be one definitive plan of action that it seems like we need to take, or like that, it can almost feel like the path is very narrow. And so what I love about these options spreads is that it brings the power even more so back into the viewer, where if you have, if there's like a choice to be made, and there's several different ways that you can execute that choice, or you can go about, navigating your reality in a certain way, or if you're at a crossroads and you don't know like where to go or your next step, this offers insight into the different energies of multiple timelines. So that's what I love so much. There's different aspects we're going to be covering within these readings. But again, it leaves everything in the hands of you guys even more so. And it's just another cool way, tarot really should always be confirming what you already know and not necessarily providing new information. If anything, it just confirms what you've already been feeling on a deeply intuitive level. So what I love about today's readings is when I was going through the tarot cards for the pick a card to represent the choice to be made, we had all major arcana come up. So here are your 4 cards to choose from today. You can pause the video if you need to. And try not to overthink it. If you need to, hit up a random number generator to help you select your deck. Usually that's really accurate for me, or if there's like a specific number and the timestamps that has continued to appear in my reality, I'll tune into that as well. And one of these cards just might jump out to you and you might just know just from looking at it. So without any more rambling, we're going to get right into these readings. All right, pile number 1, if you guys chose the Justice card for your choice to be made, this is your reading. Okay, so I have 2 different tarot decks I'm using today. I have not looked at any of the cards. Sometimes when I shuffle, the cards flip over, but just so you know, I'm using this deck for, this is like a super enchanting deck. I'm using this deck for one of the options, and I'm using this deck for another option. But they're both kind of based off the Rider-Waite Tarot. So right away, let's tune into the energies. And this is my first time doing this as a group reading. Generally, people are coming to me with a specific thing in mind, so it's been really easy and seamless to break down in that sense. Doing this in a general reading, I'm not sure how detailed we can get, but again, I'm going to try my best. Have grace for me. This is kind of new territory, so I'm like, okay, how exactly are we going to navigate this? But my guides are like, just get into it. We'll take you every step of the way. So in terms of, we're going to tackle first this choice to be made. So it seems like for those beings that are drawn to this pile, your choice to be made has something to do with feeling like you are like achieving and reestablishing some sort of balance in your life. This could obviously talk about things that are going on in terms of like dealing with the law, like actual justice. So this could be like divorce stuff. This could be very earthly stuff, like some sort of lawsuit that you're going through, or like estate settlements, or child, what is it, like things to do with your children and custody battles, that type of thing. So it could be in that sense, something very earthly. And this could also just be talking about, just an internal sense of how am I going to feel like I can achieve like forgiveness for the self, or how can I help achieve or, release resentment for someone else. So this could have to do with an internal kind of settling of debts, or this can do with an external settling of debts and evening out the score, so to speak. I mean, and what I love about this depiction in general is like this person is very clearly just weighing 2 options in general. So even if it's not something as, even if it's not something as intricate or as, I should say, complex maybe, as those examples that I used before. This could be simply just saying, like, you're literally weighing out your options for, okay, maybe it's one thing. Maybe you're weighing out options for like a business you see, and you're weighing out different ways to achieve that or approach that. That could be one thing. Or this could also be saying that you're just weighing out your options. Like, you feel you're at a crossroads and there's two different paths that you feel like you could take or that you want to take, and you're not really sure which one. So, again, this is a general reading. So all of that could apply to many of you. Or, one of those or several of those could apply to some of you, right? Yeah, trust if you were guided to this pile, because, again, this is my first time navigating these realms in terms of doing this for a group reading. So I think I'm just going to get into the options from here, and I feel like it will help clarify, even more. It will give me more insight into whatever it is that you guys are exploring. So I'm going to start with one option, and then I'll let you know when I've switched over to the second option in terms of energy. So again, we're exploring timeline probabilities here, okay? So keep that in mind. There's no right or wrong, but this is going to give you confirmation into kind of how you probably already intuitively feel each one of these options is going to play out. So this first card in this specific deck that I'm using, it represents the suggested action to take for option A. Right? So we have the Nine of Swords. So suggested action to take. I feel like this is saying, this is just bringing awareness around not getting tied up in your head, not getting caught up in doubts and in fears and in insecurities. I feel like this is also, the suggested action is taking something head on. So if you're like, should I, battle this thing head on, or should I confront this person face to face, or whatever it is, this is kind of giving me an indication of not feeding the fears. So either taking something head on, facing something head on, and or being very cautious that you're not feeding the negativity, that you're not feeding the ifs, ands, or buts, especially when it has to do with things not working out in your favor. But ultimately, this is also saying to see things as they are, to see reality for what it is, but removing your sense of identity from it, removing your sense of like emotional state from the situation. Because in this picture, I'm just seeing how this woman is like staring at this individual. She's staring at this entity, this being, like she's not pretending it's not there. She's looking at it and seeing it for face value. This is also saying that, option A, whichever option this feels right for you, or whichever option, you might be tuning into, or the several different options you have available to you. This is just kind of saying, don't be surprised when you're met with a lot of this type of turmoil for going down this route. Which is interesting that this is like coming up as an option that you've been considering, as dealing with something face on, or like facing the shadow self. So this might even have to do with like some sort of, like you're coming clean about something, you are outing yourself about something that you did to someone else, or something where this is the option where you are, where you're kind of like facing up to those demons and facing up to, those karmic patterns that have led you to this point in time. So next, for this option A, we're gonna dive into the unforeseen consequences for option A. So approaching it head on, seeing the shadows, kind of being in that space of, this could also say choosing to not engage and kind of just like letting it be what it is, but also being aware that, your thoughts and your doubts and your insecurities may ramp up even more. So we have the Six of Cups, unforeseen consequences, the Six of Cups, and the Queen of Wands. Okay, so with the Six of Cups here, I feel like this is almost like, I absolutely feel like this is a healing of a connection. So, this justice with this option A for the choice to be made in terms of maintaining justice and maintaining, like, recreating balance and equilibrium within a dynamic or within something that you're battling right now. I feel like this option A of choosing to, sit with the emotions and see them for what they are, see them face on. I feel like this is a really good indication that there will be healing. There will be healing. And I feel like this might even this might be something that's been long standing with the Six of Cup energy that's coming through. So, the unforeseen consequences in this case are actually quite positive. It's like you are reestablishing power within yourself. You are, you're showing up in a position of power. Like, you're showing up as like a renewed version of yourself for the unforeseen consequences. I feel like this is also saying that, if there are kids involved with this situation, that, they are going to be taken care of. They're going to be happy. They're going to be fulfilled. Their cups are going to be filled. So if there's any worry or doubt within that, to maybe, sit with it without letting it fester in your mind. This more so feels like you are taking action. Like, this option is like addressing it head on, knowing that it's going to be really intense and probably very uncomfortable and kicking up a lot of fear at first. But, in terms of the consequences, they are like exponentially positive. You see yourself for who you truly are, which is someone that like no obstacle stands a chance, right? Understanding the Nine of Swords literally is the card of understanding everything as illusion, right? And so I feel like through whatever this external form, this external lesson is, right, your spirit and your soul is much less concerned about the form and much more aware and I shouldn't say concerned, but what matters most is the energy and the ripples and the energetic consequences and the energetic upgrades that you receive from these lessons. So, this is really confirming that. I feel like if you are in a space of trying to avoid facing really uncomfortable feelings, that it's going to come up eventually. And I feel like even if you chose an option that seemed really bad, it's like spirit is coming through and saying, like, either way, you're going to come up on top. And that's really ballsy for me to say before even finishing this option and then before even seeing what's in the other option, right? But, it really does feel like by facing it head on, it seems like, especially with this child that's showing up in the picture, I feel like this is taking care of something before it gets bad or a lot worse than it is, like nipping something in the bud. However that means for you, whatever that, I'm just tuning into the general energies, and I'm like I'm hearing things and I'm seeing things. And so, just really try to take this and apply it to how it fits you. So unforeseen consequences are actually quite positive. And I am seeing like women show up in these readings. There's all women here. So maybe this actually has to do with, reestablishing firm connection or reestablishing equilibrium with like a woman in your life or like a female figure, like a boss, maybe even, or just someone who feels like they represent like an authority figure for you. But ultimately the unforeseen consequences are actually quite positive. It's like tuning back into your inner child, feeling in control, feeling powerful and who you are. And, ultimately knowing that it's all going to work out in your best interest. So I want to see, this last card is the likely outcome, right? That for this option, we're diving into the likely outcome for choosing option A. So if we're choosing in terms of this choice to be made, how do I go about, what am I balancing? What is the likely outcome for these energies and this timeline that we've just tuned into? We have the Eight of Wands, so things moving really quick. Yeah, I definitely was feeling that. It's like choosing to lean into the shadow and choosing to like fight something head on. I feel like it's almost like it's been a long time coming is what I just heard. So it's almost like you have been building up to this point to where you're like, all right, fuck it. I'm so frustrated with, being pushed around. I'm so frustrated with not being able to make a decision. I feel so frustrated about running from my discomfort versus just leaning into it. It's almost like that frustration is like building up a lot of momentum for you to move past things really quick, and for a lot of rapid change is what I'm hearing. A lot of rapid evolution, positive messages coming in, and ultimately it feels like a rapid upgrade, a rapid up leveling. That's definitely the timeline that I'm tuning in here. So it starts off, it feels very scary, but you see your mind for what it is, right? You see it all for what it is. And ultimately it's like, you know, despite what you might have feared in the beginning, things actually turned out a lot better by choosing this option, when you choose this option of leaning into it. So now I'm actually really quite curious about what option B, what that represents in terms of whatever it is that you're balancing, whatever it is that, you know, this Justice card represented for you that we established in the beginning of the reading. So for your suggested action to take for option B, we have the Hierophant. So this could mean going to a mentor. This action could mean like taking something to a judge, right? So this actually quite literally, I feel like it could have something to do with marriage and, you know, divorce or whatever. I feel like this could be talking about reestablishing boundaries or coming back to the basics, or like I'm seeing like a wedding, even if this doesn't have to do with marriage. I'm seeing like coming back to your values and like reassessing. This option is reinstating, and almost I'm getting like second chance kind of vibe with the Hierophant coming on. It's almost like, you know, I'm seeing some people get married and then forgetting why they did that, and then coming back together to reestablish, you know, coming back to their firm boundaries. This could talk about, you know, going to a place of worship to get more clarity. This could talk about like meditating. This could talk about you know, going to someone who you see as a mentor that gives really good advice. This could talk about counseling, right? There's so many different things that this Hierophant card could represent. It feels like a different way of battling things head on. But the difference that I'm seeing here is one option is kind of outsourcing your sense of being able to navigate this. And another option is choosing to tackle it head on and facing whatever it is that you're trying to navigate. So I feel like I want to get more clarity. I want to see the full picture because I'm hearing a lot, I'm getting a lot, but I just want to confirm because I did see one of the cards flip over, one of the last cards, and so that's why I'm like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But so let's see. We have unforeseen consequences for option B in terms of, you know, going to a mentor or, you know, going to some sort of religious institution or reestablishing boundaries, or reestablishing not necessarily boundaries, but reestablishing your values and your morals, and coming back to, it feels like one is navigating this from a space of, okay, I'm actually going to finally tackle the demons that brought me to this space in the first place with option A. And it's almost like option B is like, it's almost like, and I know the Hierophant doesn't represent like being heady about things, and we even have the Queen of Cups here too, but it almost feels like a Band-Aid, or just like, oh gosh, I really want to fix this. I really want this to work out. Okay, so yeah, for the two options, it's one option is facing it within yourself, and the other option is taking it to someone else, or, you know, looking to some external guidance. And then we have for the unforeseen consequences of this first option is the Queen of Cups. So I feel like the unforeseen consequences of, you know, taking this to someone else and, you know, looking for some external guidance is, I feel like, you know, we have two wands or two queens coming up in both positions. So one is much more emotionally attuned. One feels much more intuitive. One of these options, I feel like the unforeseen consequences are, you know, you feeling like you are left in a better place. Like your heart feels like it's left in a better place. You feel emotionally grounded. You feel pretty stable. So either way, for both of these options, I'm seeing the unforeseen consequences are pretty similar in the fact that there's healing that's happened. You know yourself more. You feel more in your power. You feel more intuitive. You feel more capable. So it's like the unforeseen consequences of both of these options. It's so funny. This totally confirms how it doesn't matter what Spirit said in the beginning. Like, the form doesn't matter. It's the energy that matters the most. So however you're deciding to go about this, Spirit is saying it doesn't really matter, right? How the timelines play out don't really matter, because ultimately the reason that this choice is here, or this decision to be made is here, or that, this thing that you're weighing out is here, this kind of crossroads energy you feel like you're in, is to bring you into a certain state of energy, right? Into a certain vibration. And so either way, it seems like both options kind of help you achieve that. So if anything, let that help you rest easy, knowing that you can't make the wrong decision. And because of that, you're likely to make a decision that is much more aligned to, harmony, holistic harmony. So I want to check in with a likely outcome for choosing option B. So taking it external, getting some sort of mentor, choosing to, again, it was feeling like that Band-Aid a little bit. Okay, I see why the whole notion of the Band-Aid coming in is because for option B, it seems much more like the energy that I'm feeling overall, you guys, is that this is usually using like spiritual principles or concepts or ideas in order to make your decisions for you, because ultimately it would help. I don't know. Ultimately, it seems like you are not necessarily tackling the root of something, because the unforeseen consequences, or I'm sorry, the likely outcome for option B is the Tower and the Five of Cups. So it's almost like, the unforeseen consequences, you're left feeling a bit better and a bit grounded and like a bit more emotionally stable with this Queen of Cups energy. It feels like ultimately there is an inability to see and to acknowledge when something is done, right? The five cards represent winning through, or understanding when we should, or like how we're going to work with what we currently have, and not necessarily how we wish it would be. And so I feel like there's a resistance here in option B, by taking it at external and going, like, doing things according to the template and doing things according to like what your parents think is right, or this gives me a sense of doing things by the book versus like really getting, the first option was really facing the truth, facing the honesty, facing the depth of what this has to offer. Because ultimately it seems like with this option B, whatever that option represents for you, it's like ultimately Spirit continues to give us these explosive moments, these Tower moments, when we haven't really quite got something right? It's knocking off all of the untruth, and the truth is still there, right? And Towers aren't necessarily negative. This could also just talk about, it could also be quick. It could also represent this like 8 of Wands energy where something is moving very quick. But just because we also have the 5 of Cups here, I feel like this is saying it's an inability to want to really be truthful with yourself and admit when something is not working, and admitting when something is over, and or crying over like holding resentments. Crying over spilt milk is one of the ways I've heard the 5 of Cups be described, like crying over the spilt milk versus allowing this to be an opportunity to evolve into something different and to move in a different direction. So it's like one option definitely harbors strong change. It feels very scary at first, and it feels like you're meeting a lot of demons, but ultimately there's so much success to be had, and there's so much quick evolution. Versus another option here is like going by the books, doing something because it's what other people expect of you, or just going along with the way that the rest of the world would probably do it, handling things based off of just like more concepts and less about like that actual soul alchemization that wants to be had, for this crossroads or this option that you are to make. And ultimately, yes, you will feel, I feel like you'll feel emotionally stable for a bit. However, what is that foundation built on? If it's built on a faulty foundation and still feeding illusion, it might feel good for a little bit, but ultimately it's like, you'll keep bumping into your reality until the root of what this is here to show you, not necessarily the form, but what is the energy? What is the soul lesson that spirit wants you to extract from this? So that was different. That was fun. If this resonated at all, please let me know in the comment section. Because I'd would love to offer more of these types of readings. They're really fun for me to do as well as a reader. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up. Check my description box for a playlist to a year's worth of other tarot readings. I'm also doing a 5-week program, one-on-one coaching program, if you're interested in spirituality and just mentorship, and having an extremely powerful container to up level and upgrade quite rapidly internally, and then to notice how effortlessly your external reality aligns to that. Make sure to check that out. All right, friends, I hope I see you soon. Much love. What's up, pile number 2? If you guys chose the Hermit card for this choice to be made, this decision to be made, crossroads, clarity, just distinguishing between two different paths to take regarding a certain energy you're in or whatever. We're gonna get into it. This is my first time doing these types of readings, like in a more generalized, in a public setting. I love doing these for, clients, where it's a very specific path, and, and it's very easy. It's very easy to dissect and it's easy to do. But, because I know there's a lot of beings coming in with different aspects and different ways this is going to apply, it's been interesting trying to navigate that. But I think we're doing good. So we're going to jump right into it. I'm going to start with one option. We're going to go through suggested action. We're going to go through unforeseen consequences of both options. And then we're going to tune into the likely outcome of both options. So starting with option A, this is the suggested action to take. Before we do that, I want to get into what this Hermit energy represents. So what is your choice to be made? So right now, you guys, your choice to be made, I feel like is, with the Hermit energy, the Hermit is the individual that, goes on a very deep internal journey. This could even be like an external journey, like a pilgrimage or something. But this is a being, I feel like, the main thing I'm getting with this Hermit energy is, whether to, start sharing something now, or is like start sharing a project now, going out, being a teacher, being a leader in some way, or whether to remain and incubate. It's almost like, have I done enough healing in order to move forward? Have I done enough healing in order to take that next step or to initiate that relationship or something, right? It's like this sense of, have I done enough introspecting and meditating, etc., before I go and, do something else, or before I go and, start this project, or essentially the Hermit represents an individual that has taken a lot of time by themselves in order to be a better leader and mentor for other people, right? So, the Hermit does have to do with Virgo, which Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So I am getting, in some sense, this has to do with or it could do with sharing your wisdom or sharing what you've learned, right? Mercury and Hermes in Greek mythology are quite parallel. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so Hermes and Mercury being parallel, Hermes being the messenger of the gods in Greek mythology, right? So something to do with that. Like, do I stay or do I go? Do I stay in this space? Have I done enough work, etc., before I go out and launch my program? These motherfucking dogs. Like, have I done enough of the spiritual work before, or in order to, have I done enough of the spiritual work so that when I'm creating it externally, I'm creating it for the right reasons, is, the energy I'm getting. Especially with this little yin and yang thing we have coming through the candle. So yeah, if anything, this is a group. Your choice is you are marinating on this choice specifically because I feel like you guys really have a good grip on the spiritual path and the spiritual journey, and understanding that you don't want to do something that's premature, because it's like, God, then I got to clean up all this shit after. And it's like, you guys have a good grip, I feel like, on, like, I feel like you don't have much to prove. You're like, I don't want to prove, I don't have anything I need to prove, but I do feel like I want to give back in some sort of way. All right, so very beautiful, old souls, definitely. Let's tune into the options that you guys are exploring in your own way in regards to that energy that we just tapped into a bit. Option A, suggested action, is the world. Okay, so this is like, I literally just heard travel the world. Go out and explore. Create something new. Right? I feel like this might have to do with, like, literally this option to me represents sharing what you gained, sharing the wisdom that you gained with the rest of the world. So, you know, maybe that's something that you're considering, like, should I, am I ready for this? Right? And I want you to tune in, again, remembering that there's no wrong option you can take. I want you to tune into the energy behind each one of these and notice which one clicks the most, which one feels the most exciting, right? Which one resonates with you the most. Because we can have beings tuning into this that, you know, really are in this energy right now, but depending on how this relates specifically in your paradigm, your current individual reality, you know, both options might, one option to one person might click, and another option, the opposite option, would click even better for someone else, right? So just see how this resonates for you. So the suggested action for option A, something that you're looking into, is sharing it, is opening up, is teaching, is exploring, is creating, is going out and traveling, you know, going out and socializing, meeting new people, expanding your network. So this is a very active principle of going from someone that was maybe marinating and a little bit in hibernation mode to being like, okay, it's time to get moving. It's time to get cracking. Also, this is saying, this is kind of confirming to me too that there has been a significant amount of soul growth, or that you feel ready. It's like there's a readiness behind this option A. Is like you are aligning with that paradigm that's like, okay, I'm ready. I got this. Like I don't, you know, what's that saying? If Jesus waited until he was fully healed, he never would have shared his teachings, right? This is kind of that energy that I'm getting from this first option. I want to tune into the unforeseen consequences of option A, of just going out there and, you know, taking the bull by the balls, so to speak. Is we have the Four of Cups in reverse. So yeah, if you feel like you've been in like an energy that's kind of melancholy, and an energy that's like, Four of Cups is very apathetic, I feel like this is a reversal of that energy. This is literally saying you are coming out of that energy. You know, sometimes when the Hermit energy becomes distorted, we are in isolation and we feel very alone, and we can almost feel like depressive, especially because this is, you know, a 4 in the aspects of the emotional state. So this could be like, you know, maybe it seems like the unforeseen consequences are you're not saying no to opportunities that could actually quite literally, you know, take you to this place where all of the work that you've done internally is now manifesting externally. Like that's what the world represents to me. Like the suggested action is, you know, taking the action in order to manifest the life of your dreams, the world, you know, your dream life, everything that you could imagine. And it is possible. It absolutely is possible, right? It's very beautiful too when you do have that spiritual understanding, that spiritual knowledge of like, it doesn't matter what the fuck shows up, right? Spirit is more concerned with energy versus form. It doesn't matter what shows up, as long as I'm integrating the lessons and I feel a certain way and if I feel so good and so at peace, it's like, everything then is a bonus. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything is a bonus because it's taking you deeper into yourself, and you can enjoy the good when it comes. The joy has a much more profound sense of sweetness to it, right? So I feel like the unforeseen consequences is you're not saying no to opportunities that are actually going to take you deeper into your connection with spirit, right? You're not saying no to opportunities because you're depressed or you feel like you're not good enough or you're not ready enough, right? You're likely to come out of this energy of feeling kind of stagnant with option A. So let's see the likely outcome. We're moving and grooving with this one. The likely outcome is judgment. This is literally like soul recognition or soul resurrection is what I'm saying. Like, so the likely outcome for option A of just getting out there and putting yourself out there, making those connections, you know, taking that trip, whatever it is, like, getting moving. If you've been having inspiration to travel somewhere, whatever it is, or to, take a class with that, your favorite spiritual teacher, whatever's going to shake up your energy in a big way, man. Like, this is what option A really is about. It feels very exciting. It feels very masculine. It's very active, this option. And the likely outcome is you feel a new sense of who you came here to be, right? Even more so than just keeping quiet and keeping to yourself. Even more so than that, it's like, this has just added, a necessary dynamic and level of, like, you've opened your eyes to understanding more of the multidimensional nature behind things. It's added a layer and a level of depth that you didn't know could be there. Because we're having this human experience. We're exploring form for a reason. And so I feel like Spirit is really encouraging you, even though we hear all the time it's not so much form that matters, what's happening on the earth plane, so much as it is the energetic ripples that we're experiencing from our actions, our thoughts, etc. For this option and the state that you guys are existing in now, I feel like this is a group of very advanced souls where it's like, I'd rather just be meditating and connecting with Spirit than interacting with this fucking insane world, right? But it seems like by taking this option and by going out and exploring and not making anyone wrong or bad or right or good, whatever, and just by putting yourself out there, I feel like you really are going to understand and feel a level of yourself that you didn't quite know was possible. Like, you're adding another dimension. That's what I was trying to get at. You're adding another dimension to yourself, or revealing another dimension to yourself, I should say, with this option A. Okay, now I'm really curious of which option B would be in terms of this energy that you're navigating. So option B in terms of, for the suggested action, option B. So it's actually quite similar. I feel like option B is much more rooted in sharing, whereas option A, I feel like has more to do with traveling and, meeting new people and going around. Option A definitely feels much more like a, more permission to have fun and to play. And option B, I feel like it's more of focusing on your business, or focusing on how do I monetize this, or focusing on how do I make something long term, right? And so both of these could very much so involve traveling and involve meeting new people, making new connections. However, option A feels like it's more rooted in play and having fun and not taking yourself so seriously, whereas option B feels much more, even though it's a really positive card, the energy that these two options are coming from is what Spirit is guiding me towards, or the intention behind it. So one is to have fun, one is to kind of create a legacy, one is to kind of you're looking at it from a place of logic, or a place of okay, how do I monetize this? And I feel like, of course, with old souls, we don't really necessarily align with the systems that are in place currently on the planet. We don't necessarily align with those things. So obviously, I'm just not surprised when I see so many advanced and old souls starting their own businesses, wanting to live that kind of entrepreneurial lifestyle where they're not answering to someone else. So this almost feels like maybe one of the reasons you were in this energy, this choice to be made is at time, is because you didn't want to mess up, or you really you're really marinating on the way of how to go about launching this new business, right? Or what is going to bring me the best return on my investment. So the suggested action with option B is to, focus on that, right? Focusing on those aspects of making the right connections, writing out business plans. With the Pentacles, it's very much so rooted in earth, taking the necessary steps, laying the necessary foundations on the earth plane and the earthly ways, right? So what are the unforeseen consequences for option B? We have Page of Cups. So receiving an offer, receiving, someone wanting to invest in you. I literally see the Page of Cups of someone wanting to invest in you. It's funny because neither one of these options, this is why I love doing these option spreads. Neither one is bad. right? Neither one is better or worse. There's beautiful energies in both of those. So I feel like with the Page of Cups, it's like, this might even be saying while you're on your game and you are, you know, going, like making those connections and at networking events or whatever it is, like doing your best to show up at the right place, the right time. What I mean by that is like you're going to events and you're going places to parties or whatever where you're likely to rub shoulders with someone that you need to in order to advance you in a certain direction, right? I feel like this is saying, yeah, you might get an offer. You might even get, the love of your life, something romantic might even come from this. So an unforeseen consequence for option B is some sort of offer that is fulfilling on an emotional level as well. Unforeseen consequence too is, sometimes this fish in this cup can represent like an offer, but when we don't seize it quick enough, it can jump out. So it's like an unforeseen thing that occurs from this, or an energy, or a factor is someone gives you an offer and just it feels like you feel very pressured to make a quick decision. But I feel like just with how well you guys know yourselves and how much you introspect and how important it is for you to be in alignment with your mission and not act hastily. I feel like because you have done so much internal exploration that, when something feels right, you don't really need to think too hard about it. You just know. So I don't feel like that, if someone offered you something and it's like, okay, we got to know tomorrow, you would know right then if it was right for you, or at least, within a couple hours. So what is the likely outcome for option B, Spirit? We have the Four of Cups showing up here. And we also look at that. We also have the Hermit coming back. Okay, so the likely outcome is bringing you back into the same space that you were in. And it's interesting that for option A, we talked about getting out of this stagnant energy, like it was a reversal of this energy. This is almost like it will bring you back into that space that I feel like you might kind of feel like you're already in. And that's why you're in this space of like, okay, something needs to switch up with this choice to be made. And so I feel like this is very clear. It's like you either have an option to be really in your head about things and go by the books and do the things that people will tell you to do in order to start your business, or in order to like live out your dream life, or like taking the action that feels more logical, even though you're such a spiritually aware individual. Even if you wouldn't call yourself spiritual, just intuitively, I feel like you're very aware, of spiritual law. One option is working, right, and more discipline, and one option is playing. And, ultimately having like a huge realization about yourself. And maybe this is even saying that one option leads you in the direction of like one option, it's like you extracted the lesson. Option A, you extracted the lesson by going out, playing, having fun, exploring, right? Not making it mean, not taking yourself and life so seriously. And the other option is like, okay, you can still have fun. You're still like lighthearted about things, but it's still very logical. It's still very practical with this Pentacles energy. And while yes, you get, you're getting offers, and people are seeing your success and feeling what you're capable of, and maybe even offering to invest in you in some sort of way, it's like ultimately the likely outcome is leading you back into the same place you were in, because it feels like there's it's part of the lesson here is about having fun and exploring, and again, not taking yourself so seriously, not waiting until you're perfect before you launch that program or whatever. Like the world represents, I'm kind of getting like a fool energy in a positive way, like just fucking going for it. The world is yours, right? And trusting that your internal world is rich enough and colorful enough to bring in the necessary components externally, because ultimately it's so funny. This the likely outcome for that option that's more logical and more practical definitely feels like it's bringing you not into a bad space, but it's like it's still going back. Okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to marinate on what this energy is and what's bringing me in this place of feeling like nothing is good enough, feeling very apathetic, feeling like you are unable to see the richness in front of you because you're, have a grass is always green kind of mentality, or you know, it's because you feel like you're not ready to accept the good when it is here to come. But I feel like a shakeup of your energy is really important right now, is at least what I'm seeing within these. Again, leave it up to your better judgment, but I feel like these two options are very clear. It's like option A, and then option B is taking you back to the same point to eventually, I feel like, choose option A. So it's almost like Spirit's like, you know, you can't make a wrong decision, but this feels like one of those soul lessons that's unavoidable. It feels like one of those soul paths and those timelines that like there is, you know, we have more or less free will around certain lessons for certain reasons. This is one of those where we have a little less free will in terms of what higher self wanted us to explore and extract, you know, from the energetics behind whatever your earthly form might be suggesting. So this was really fun. I really enjoyed this. If this resonated, please comment down below. Let me know how this is manifesting for you in particular. Give this video a thumbs up. Yeah, connect with me. I really want to see how you know, these are manifesting their own ways. If you feel called to share. If not, I totally get it. No pressure. But I have a year's worth of other tarot videos on my primary channel. That's there's a playlist linked in the description box. And know that I also offer a 5-week one-on-one coaching program that's like super intensive. Intense. I can be an intense person, but you know, it's I feel like it's an extremely potent container for rapid internal transformation and healing of the nervous system, and, you know, understanding things from a much more freeing perspective, seeing closer from the eyes of God in order to, you know, effortlessly attract the life of your dreams, man. So yeah, check that all out in the description box, and I hope I see you guys soon. What's up, pile number 3? If you guys chose the endless dance of death for the choice that you are currently making, or the options you're weighing, or the different, you know, paths you can take from this point that you're at in your incarnation, we are going to dive into that. So first of all, you guys, this pile has the most tarot cards. I mean, we have 9, 12. We have like 16 tarot cards that came out, which is, you know, we only had 6 for the other piles, or roughly. So Spirit has a lot of details for this specific pile in general. So just so you guys know how these readings work, we have, you know, the choice to be made, understanding this is a general reading, so it's important to be in tune with your own psychic senses, and just being aware of like how this, what this death card represents for you guys in your path at this current time. And then the 2 options, and in each option, we are going to look at the suggested action to take for each option, the unforeseen consequences for each option, and then the likely outcome for each option. And what I love about this is we're seeing that no option is either right or wrong, but you'll definitely feel a clicking. This will confirm to you what you guys probably already know about the path that you should take. So yeah, let's get right into it. So I first want to dissect this energy for the endless dance of death. So this is the death card. So you guys might just be at a point, or you guys are, you know, the choice that you have to be, that has to be made, I feel like has something to do with, you know, death talks about a change, like a permanent type of change that can't be undone. So I feel like this has to do with a permanent change that cannot be undone. Like maybe you've just closed a chapter, or you are, you have just ended some sort of significant cycle. This could even talk about you've had a certain type of awakening or a realization to where you will never be the same. It's not possible to exist within old paradigms and in the same way. It's like this is a significant change has happened in your life where I'm sensing a lot more freedom, man, especially with, you know, these 2 beings dancing. It's like you're just in a place of, you feel sobered. You feel sobered to the fact of, you know, the shortness of life. I feel like this is really, I'm feeling a sobering in sense of you're not wanting to play small anymore. So whatever this shift represents, or, you know, maybe you just experienced the end of a significant relationship where you're kind of in that energy of like, wow, like I wasted so much time, or I don't want to waste time anymore, or, you know, like this sense of like rebirth and renewal is what I'm getting. And like, the world is mine, anything is possible. And so I feel like this might be like, okay, where do I go from here kind of energy. This could also talk about like walking away from a career ending, something significant in your life ending externally, as well as, you know, having that internal huge epiphany and shift, but something ending externally to where you are like, I don't want to settle. And maybe you're in this space of like, can I really go down this path that feels so good, bright, whatever? Or should I take it more practical, right? So this is all everything Spirit is telling me. And yeah, ultimately, I feel like there is also maybe a sense of not wanting to let other people down, because we do have a lot of these, you know, and other individuals in the background. So, you know, you might be at a point too where you're like, all right, I am not making my decisions for people anymore, or for, you know, I'm not making my decisions to keep other people comfortable anymore. I'm really feeling this like boss ass, badass type of energy coming through. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to touch on right now with the Death card. So we're going to jump into option A. This is the first option in terms of, okay, in this energy of like renewal, and, you know, the winter is over and now spring. Where do I plant my seeds? So option A for the suggested action, we have the Seven of Swords in reverse, and we have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. So the choice, or I'm sorry, the suggested action, I feel like it's, the suggested action is not to act from a place where you're reinstating low vibrational and like expired paradigms. So the suggested action for option A, it's interesting that those two cards, did all of them come up in reverse? Yeah, all of them did not come up in a reverse position. Option A, I feel like, is going back to the way things are, or at least is selecting, like there with this first option, it's like it's a choice to go back to the way things are, but it looks a different way. Like the energy underneath it is still similar. Like you have experienced this renewed sense of self and this new kind of rebirth. However, option A will have you very much so aware of where you are likely still feeding into those paradigms of not having enough, of not being enough, of not having enough to offer. Maybe there's even fear of like how a child's education is going, or like very practical type of fears, right? That can exist on this earth level. And then also like, I'm almost getting like a manipulative kind of energy from the Seven of Swords, like making decisions that are rooted in like kind of sneaky energy, or man, I feel like before I get any more into this, you guys, I need to see what the rest of the story is telling. So I'm going to flip over the rest of the cards. So this is, we're going to get into the unforeseen consequences for Two of Cups. Or I'm sorry, unforeseen consequences. For the option A, we have the Two of Cups and the Ace of Wands. And I'm going to tell the story a bit once I have, once I see the rest of how everything is panning out. Next, we have the likely outcome for option A, Eight of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. All right, this makes much more sense. Okay, so your first option, and it's very clear that you are making decisions a lot differently. With the Five of Pentacles and the Seven of Swords in a reverse position, I feel like this is going from like a lack type of mentality, or like playing things very cautiously, or like taking what you can where you can, and maybe not abiding by things like the golden rule or whatever, because you feel like you're not going to have enough, or, you know, it feels like part of what has died recently, the part of you that's died with this, you know, the endless dance of death, and then what's coming up for the suggested action, it's like you either have, with this option, it's very clear, this option is like taking no prisoners. It's really doing your best in all of the ways that you can to not go back to that mentality, to not play it safe. It's really interesting that we have the endless dance of death, because I just heard Spirit say you are choosing life over death for option A. I feel like ultimately, because at the end of this reading, the likely outcome, we do have the Eight of Swords. So I feel like it's going to feel so different in your body as you acclimate yourself and as you make decisions that are not going to reinstate the paradigm that you feel has so deeply shifted. So it's with this option, I feel like it's saying your external reality may still try to suggest to you that nothing has actually changed. Maybe the people in it are literally telling you that you haven't changed, or, you know, things are happening that is trying to pull back that old version of you with this first option. Whether that is like, okay, I'm not going to move quite yet. I'm not going to break up with this person quite yet. I'm not going to, but this internal shift, it doesn't feel like it's ready externally, but I feel so changed internally that I know I'm different. And so even if my external reality suggests nothing has changed, I know that something internally has shifted and I will never be the same person. And so with the unforeseen consequences of this new dynamic shift, it's like, if you're already in a relationship with someone, like romantic speaking, I feel like this is either saying that it's going to get better or you're going to meet someone even better than where you're actually at. I mean, we have the Two of Cups and the Ace of Wands together. That's like a passionate new romance flooding in. So, for some of you guys, this might be like, you're in a situation where you are like, what has ended is, at least a phase of your relationship where something was, much more immature. And now you're moving into a new level of maturity. This could also just talk about things with friendships, right? It's like you're making space for this new internal shift that's happening. You're making space for your external to reflect this new level of emotional, this maturity emotionally and spiritually. So yeah, it's like, even if you can't necessarily change your external, option A is like nothing has changed externally, but you are not taking your cues from your environment. And when you stay rooted in this new energy and, anything is possible, and like milking this energy for what it is, milking this shift for what it is, it feels like you're going to get a lot of opportunity to make new connections, to maybe even go in a new direction. It's interesting that we have the Seven of Swords coming up in this option, because I feel like this could even be like, Seven of Swords and like relationship readings can talk about sneakiness or lying and not being completely honest with the people in our lives. It's kind of like that, that very snaky kind of energy. So it's interesting that it's coming up in a reverse position here. It's like you're not taking, you're not settling anymore. Again, it's that energy of, that boss energy was really coming up in the beginning of this reading. And I feel like in terms of what's dying in this suggested action, it's like you are allowing your external reality that reflected these versions of yourself that you felt lower in confidence and lower in self-esteem and lower in what it is that you actually deserve. It's like the suggested action is letting those things die. For some of you, it's going to feel more of an internal thing, and you're going to be removed from your external reality, not from a dissociative place, but you're not taking it as seriously. You're not buying into the bullshit. And for some of you, it's going to literally look like your external world is crumbling away, and the reality that reflected those states are also leaving. But it's making space either way, however that's going to look for you guys, because this is a group reading. However that looks and manifests for you guys, option A does show ultimately there's new love coming, and it's a passionate new beginning. Or just, this could also just talk about you are getting job opportunities that are much more in alignment with this new unearthing, this new level of value that you have found for yourself, within yourself, right? But something that is very exciting and passionate, like something like you feel re-sparked. It feels brand new, right? And it was important that you let that old reality die away first and go through its process, and you're grieving, of course. And then it's like, before you know it, this new passionate, quick moving, like very emotionally fulfilling new start, however that looks for you, is underway. And so the likely outcome for option A is, this Eight of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. I feel like it's literally saying, your fate is turning, right? You're going from this energy of feeling like doubtful of yourself and not good enough and tied up into your circumstances to seeing that, you know, just as fast as the beings are on the top, you know, just as fast they can end up on the bottom and vice versa. And so I feel like this first option is really seeing how quickly things can change when you no longer put up with bullshit, when you no longer settle for less, when you really put your foot down in terms of what it is that you truly want from this life, right? And dancing with the cycles, being okay with those cycles ending, not resisting the ending of cycles, right? Letting those things play out, loving what was for, you know, while it was there, but ultimately, you're not resisting, you're not blocking your blessings, right? By holding too firmly onto something. So we are going to dive into the next option. So this is the suggested action to take for option B in terms of the endless dance of death here. So we have 8 of Cups. So we have walking away. So suggested action, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. So 1 feels like it's more of like you are maybe existing within the same realms or in the same reality, but it's like your relationship to it has shifted to the point where, you know, your external will eventually catch up. I feel like this is leading you in the same direction either way, but this is really saying, how do you want to go about this shift? Do you just want to get it over with? Just walk away, right? With option B, you're just like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to, you know, walk away from this. Or option A seems like it's maybe lingering around a little bit. You're going towards an option B, you're going straight towards your new reality. And option A feels like you're calling it in, or you're waiting for it to come in and to show you the next step. So what is the unforeseen consequence for option B? We have the 7 of Swords energy coming up again and this 5 of Wands. So option B, choosing to just like straight up walk out and walk away. I'm getting that this might leave things feeling like a bit more hectic, a bit more chaotic. I'm getting this sense of it feeling more stressful with the 7 of Swords and the 5 of Wands. Like it feels like you have to like fight to stay afloat. And this could even be like the unforeseen consequences just seem like it's this energy that you are trying to get out of. So for option B, just straight up walking away, I feel like might be more of like, it's kind of representing to me like a running away. Well, maybe, and we'll dive more into this in the likely outcome, but you know, I feel like ultimately Spirit is just reiterating the fact of it's really important to, you're not running away from your problems, you're tackling them straight on. Let's finish up. I just want to see what the likely outcome is. Okay, we have the 10 of Swords, the King of Cups, and the 4 of Cups. I feel like for the second option, it's saying that, you know, making a decision, like just being aware of the place you're sitting in when you're making your decisions. Because I'm almost getting the sense with option B, one option is to like leave in a rage, whether that's a job or a relationship or whatever. And the unforeseen consequences is it like feels a little bit challenging. It's almost like an unnecessary detour that I'm getting with this option B. You know, just being like, all right, I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not going to look at myself or whatever. And this is just like choosing to walk away without doing that necessary introspection. And then the likely outcome, we have the 10 of Swords, we have the King of Cups, and we have the 4 of Cups. So I feel like this is almost saying that with option B, by choosing that option, you know, to just walk away, I feel like this is putting yourself in a position that, you know, ultimately you can make your, you know, nothing is set in stone. We can make our way out of something. But I feel like this option is saying, you know, just be aware that it doesn't have to be hard, right? To not make decisions in a haste, or, you know, with one option, we definitely have this energy of reflecting and, you know, like making the most of where you're at. With the 7 and the 5, like 7 cards and 5 cards talk about contemplation, contemplating where we're at, and then, you know, doing our best to work with what we have right now and not like what we wish it was. So on one hand, it's like you can acknowledge where you're at without still letting that old paradigm be fed. And the next option, your other option, it feels like to just, okay, it's dead, it's done, I'm just going to walk away from it. However, it feels like a little bit lack of planning in terms of maybe the way that you do it or whatever. It's like you're not integrating the lesson, you're integrating, extracting the juice of what that was to teach you. And so you're left in a space of feeling like there's competition, you have to fight, you have to be resourceful, you have to be sneaky to get what you want. And the likely outcome of that is, you know, feeling stabbed in the back, or feeling like you kind of like walked yourself into, like you were in a hole and you kept digging that motherfucking hole and now you're stuck in it. And it's like getting to a place where I feel like has created more stress than needs to be, that when someone potentially does have something to offer to you, you're unwilling to accept it. This could even be saying, oh, you know what? This could even be saying like someone walking away from you, and, you know, if you choose to chase something that is dead and done, or choose to chase something that, you know, is clearly not working out, I feel like this is saying that, you know, it's kind of like a lost cause, and that energies are going into spaces and places that ultimately it's, you know, all for what? To end up in the same place that you already are, which is, you know, this cycle is clearly done. And so, you know, you're so wrapped up in one option is to again hold on to this old reality. And so you're not even able to see something new coming your way, because you're still in this energy of very much so trying to hold on to something, even though you had this huge internal shift. Or maybe you're not sure. Maybe this pile you chose, you weren't actually sure if something was over. And this is kind of confirmation of like, okay, what would happen if I stayed? What would happen if I left? What would happen if I chased this person? Like, ultimately, I feel like both of these options are kind of leading in the same place. One option is like you're choosing to let that death be permanent, that end of a cycle be permanent with this option A. And, you know, because of that, you're allowing more beauty, more inspiration, more exciting new opportunities to come your way. And, you know, all of these doubts are all of these insecurities are very quickly reversed. And before you know it, you have this new reflection, this new reality rushing in. But even though at first it seemed like nothing really changed externally, you stayed true to you. And this other option feels like it's really suggesting that, or saying, you know, like you feel like you should walk away, or you like are almost wanting to hold on to that external reality in some way, or you know, how you're walking away from someone, how you're choosing to end something, walking away from something, but then almost like wondering if you did the right thing, or still in some way trying to grapple and hold on to your past reality. Like this, you know, individual is walking away from a battle and like kind of taking those old things with him, right? Versus we have the 7 of Swords up here in a reverse position. It's like not choosing to take the past with you and the past battles with you. But in this case, it's like taking the past with you, not really giving that death a chance to really ground and root itself into your reality, right? So it's like, even if it looks, despite what it might look like on the surface of things, it's like, are you still battling with yourself about if you made the right decision? You know, are you still like trying to hold on to things? Are you still trying to battle for something to work out? And it's leaving you in the space of feeling like you have to like be sneaky, or you have to be really resourceful. And again, that's not reflecting what this karmic cycle was to bring you into a space of, right? Because with one option, when it's like you really have extracted those lessons, you know, you have bounty flooding in quickly, right? And on one side, I'm seeing this, it's like when you're still remaining in this energy of like needing to prove yourself or like wanting to hold on and fight for something that is clearly not serving you, I mean, you're just going to end up here either way, right? And then you have all of this emotional clearing and like apathy to clear up, and excuse me, you have, it's like you can't make a wrong decision, but ultimately it's like one option is very clearly a detour, and another option is like just like I don't want to say, you know, that in one option you're not facing things head on, because one option definitely feels like you're trying to face something head on, but it's almost coming from this energy of like wanting to still hold on to what is clearly done. And another one is like, okay, it's a little bit uncomfortable. I you know, I don't really like how it feels in this moment, but I am going to have trust. I'm going to have faith. I'm not going to hold on to something that's dead and done. And because of it, you know, you're able to close that timeline a lot sooner. You're able to bridge the gap a lot sooner between where you are and where it is that you ultimately want to be. So yeah, I'm going to leave this reading here for now. Please let me know how this applies to you guys if you feel guided to. This is my first time doing these types of readings generally. I really love doing these for people one-on-one because you can get a lot of great detail, and I'm not usually, sometimes I'm like, I'm fucking confused I'm like, okay, what the fuck's happening? But when I kind of know what's going on in someone's life and they're like, hey, this is happening, this is like kind of the options I have, it's really easy to tune in. But yeah, really fun to offer this as a general reading for you guys. Give this video a thumbs up. I have a 5-week one-on-one coaching program, spiritual mentorship. They're called Illumination Sessions, where we really deep dive into your soul's blueprint, inner blocks, and we really do an illumination of the internal world in order to call in and make space for that external abundance to flood into you, because your timeline's already waiting for you. It's just we got to do that clearing, So I offer that, and I also offer I have like a year's worth of other tarot readings on my primary channel. So all of that is in the description box. I hope I see you soon. What's up, pile number 4? This is your reading for, we're getting into some sort of choice that you have to make, or a decision you have to make, or choosing between two paths, like a crossroads type of reading. So how this breaks down is I have the choice to be made in the middle with the card that you chose, or just the energies you guys are in right now. And then I have 2 options that we're going to dive into. So 2 different timelines. And in each timeline, we are going to address 3 aspects. We're going to address the suggested action for each option. We're going to address the unforeseen consequences that can be good or bad for each option. And then the likely outcome for each option, again, based on timeline probabilities. So with the star card, first we're going to dive into the energies that you guys are probably existing within right now. So, I'm seeing this individual as holding something sacred and precious. I feel like this has something to do with your soul's mission, your soul's blueprint, what it is that you feel like you're here to offer to the world. This has to do with your gifts, your talents, your blessings, what you want to create. This has to do, the star to me reminds me of our North Star, our internal guidance system, right? The emotional guidance system, which, not surprised, this individual is holding this sphere of light right at the point of the heart chakra. So this might absolutely have to do with you feeling like where to go in terms of what, I feel like I have so many options, so many, like the world is at my fingertips. I can go so many different directions, but I kind of want to tune into where that would lead me, and if it would be worth my precious time and energy and space to go to take that. So, yeah, you just might also be feeling like a sense of, okay, I've gotten this far and I'm kind of feeling like I want to switch something up. Like your calling can remain the same, but how you're guided to show up externally can change. So I feel guided to do this pile a little differently. I'm going to turn over all the cards for each option at a time. So I'm not going to look at option B yet, but I'm going to turn all the cards over for option A, because it does tell a story. I've been doing it section by section, but this one I feel guided to do all at once. So option A, suggested action. We have strength in reverse. Option B, or I'm sorry. These have been really long and taking a lot of energy out of me in terms of channeling, so bear with me. We have unforeseen consequences, justice, and the King of Pentacles for option A. And lastly, for option A, for your likely outcome, we have the Wheel of Fortune. Oh my God, we have 3 major arcana coming up with this one. So option A, powerful energies. So with the Strength in reverse, I feel like this is, you know, the Strength card is great because it represents the energy of perseverance and being courageous and showing up where we're called. However, its detriment can be, its detriment can involve persevering and like not wanting to give up something because we've been working at it for so long. So option A might be a resistance to, you know, either a resistance to like an unwillingness to see what's actually working, or if this is, you know, if you're doing something because it's actually what you want to be doing, or if it's because it's what you've always been doing, if that makes sense. So I feel like this is a level of self-honesty that is being asked, which actually is a form of incredible strength, is being honest about what our motives are and what we're hoping to get out of stuff and get out of something, right? And this could also talk about, for some of you that chose this option, this could talk about, you know, option A could involve taking things from a much more relaxed approach and not necessarily trying to stronghold your way into a certain timeline or to have everything figured out. So and even in both of those things could apply, you know, in terms of being honest when a phase is ended, and if we're, you know, kind of beating a dead horse, or if we're going in a direction because it's actually still honoring us to our core, or if we're going down that route because it's what we've already done and we've already gained a certain amount of success in some area, you know, being kind of unwilling to go down that new route. So I feel like this is in terms of what the story this is telling to me, this is like a surrendering. Option A feels like a surrendering and giving yourself permission to really let go of current timelines, and really seeing that ultimately you will be led in a direction where you are, you know, really honoring what your soul's intent was for this incarnation. That might honestly even look like doing the same thing, but I feel like it's really this, with this first card, this suggested action is to really get honest about, you know, am I doing this because it's actually fulfilling me, or am I doing this because I am getting a lot of attention, or am I doing this because, you know, it's all I've been doing and I've already achieved a certain level of success in what I'm doing. But ultimately, you know, by you at least taking the time to really truly introspect on these things and like what your motives are and the place you're sitting in when you're going down these different directions, you know, I'm really seeing the unforeseen consequences are actually quite positive. It's like you are maintaining an internal state of balance, and you're not going to have all this karmic undoing to do down the line because you were doing something, you were engaging in things and doing something from a level of ego, right? But ultimately, you know, the unforeseen consequences of this kind of like reframing is a solid foundation and a renewed sense of where you're going and why you're going there. And a renewed sense of, you know, generosity internally and externally to other people and towards yourself, and a strong foundation in the direction that you're going. So again, with the star card talks about renewed hope. And I feel like, you know, by you giving yourself permission to kind of release this facade of like having everything together, and giving yourself permission to be tender, I feel like you renew your hope through that, right? When you get really honest about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and being honest about when you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it, right? And so the likely outcome for this first option is the Wheel of Fortune. It's like fate is going to turn, or something new is going to rush in extremely quickly, right? Something about whatever your current circumstances are turning quite quickly, right? I feel like this is talking about investment of energy too with the Strength card, like where you're investing your energy. And also understanding ultimately too that maybe you were in a place where you feel like you're giving up, but the giving up isn't like necessarily giving up on the dream. It's like you're giving up trying so hard. And because of that, you actually you leave space for grace. This has been a saying or a phrase that my guides have been saying all week. Space for grace. I've been, seeing people post things on like Facebook, and I'll comment, something about space for grace. It's been coming up in so many conversations. So I'm not surprised. It's like Spirit is just wanting a little bit more room to work through you. And so you're not feeling like you are doing everything, right? One option is like literally, being courageous enough to give it up to God and not feel like you have to overly control or overly micromanage or whatever. And because of that, it's like you receive a lot of clarity on your soul's purpose. The Justice card can also just remind me of the soul's blueprint, along with a Star card. So I feel like this is like, coming back into balance with yourself and, justice in terms of what you deserve. And I feel like you have big dreams and big aspirations of how you want to impact people's lives. And so there might be like I'm not there yet. Or like, being frustrated that you're not there yet. But, your unforeseen consequences, reestablishing that understanding and things moving, like having a really strong foundation, right? And I think the energies are going to shift really quickly with this first option of, releasing your grip hold, giving yourself permission to not think about it. Not try to figure it out, whatever it is. Not try to, micromanage or whatever. Again, leaving space for grace. I see what option B has to offer. So suggested action for option B, we have the Fool. We have for the unforeseen consequences, we have the Ace of Swords. And so for likely outcome, we actually have Seven of Swords and Judgment in reverse. I wasn't sure if Spirit wanted it this way or this way, but I'm being called to hold it, to see it this way. So, for option B, in terms of, this renewal, this sense of renewal, or like what to do about your life mission, or like how to switch things up, this option is the option of just like taking a leap, right? Just going for it, just making a change, going into a new direction, hoping for the best, etc. This is really just like jumping into something like fresh without really thinking twice about it, and having really high hopes, right? It's like you're just ready to leap off the edge of a cliff, knowing and hoping and understanding that, Spirit will catch you, that you'll be guided. And actually the unforeseen consequences of this is, an epiphany, some sort of huge epiphany into like how you make decisions, or what it is that you're here for, or like what it is that you really want out of life. So almost similar energies for both options. One option kind of feels like, and honestly, it could even be interpreted in similar ways. The difference here, though, is option B seems like you're jumping into something from a perspective of, the Fool was one of the cards. It did flip up kind of sideways. So I wasn't actually sure to read it upright or in reverse, but I made a mental note of it. So it could almost talk about, being impulsive and, not thinking things through enough, or, almost this sense of wanting to be rash and wanting to do something quickly, like, because you're on some sort of timeline, which again doesn't allow space for grace. So I feel like the unforeseen consequence is having some sort of epiphany, some sort of realization of like how you make decisions and why you make decisions, that I feel like ultimately, neither one of these is saying that something is negative. However, I feel like it's going to lead you back to the same place. And this is something that we've seen with all of these options. It's like one option within these spreads has been very clearly the option that is like the most condensed timeline. And the other option is kind of like the option that feels like, okay, if we really feel like we want to explore against our better judgment, crimes against wisdom, is actually one of the, there's like three three root causes of disease according to Ayurveda, and one of them is making crimes against our judgment, right? Crimes against our better judgment and what we know ultimately is good for us and right for us in our individual path. So this is, I feel like this is you kind of leaping into something against your better judgment and then having some sort of major epiphany, major, like, you know, again, nothing negative, like you're getting to where you ultimately need to be, like in terms of realization and in terms of energy. However, it seems like with this leap, there's a little bit more cleaning up to do. It's like you have, again, that crime with the judgment in reverse. That's the crime against your better wisdom, crime against your better judgment. And it feels like, you know, you would be left with the likely outcome in a place where you feel judged by other people, or you feel like you're judging yourself, right? And that you kind of have a lot of cleaning up to do. And like you didn't do as right by yourself as you could have. But again, you know, Spirit is not ultimately saying anything is good or bad, or good or bad, but it's like, I feel like these are probably the energies you're in. It's like either the energy of, I'm going to get really clear. I'm going to give myself permission to release and to not keep pushing and to not keep just doing things for the sake of doing it, with option A, because I feel like I need to prove myself to the world or other people, or I feel like I'm not doing enough, right? And then you allow that space for grace to come in and really work its magic on you, right? And then we have one option that's like, all right, I'm just going to keep trying things. I'm going to keep going for things. I'm not going to really give myself space to think about something, or to think about things because I want to prove myself or whatever. But ultimately, I feel like this option would give you that realization. It would give you some sort of huge epiphany to where, like, how you're making decisions, to where ultimately, I feel like, again, you're going to be brought back to where you need to be eventually. You're going to merge with that timeline eventually. However, one is a lot more, there's a lot less messiness to clean up afterwards, because you weren't impulsively rushing into something because you felt like you needed to prove, again, you needed to prove yourself to other people. You needed to, you wanted other people to see you in a certain light, or to see you successful. You wanted to be successful to your family, or even to yourself, right? Sometimes we can just want to prove our own worthiness to ourselves, because you know, so long so many of us operate from that cord of unworthiness, and like we're not doing enough, so we need to prove, do, right? So ultimately, you'd have that realization. You have a lot of great insight from that, right? Impulsively rushing into something. However, it leaves little room for grace to come in, little space for grace, and a little bit more cleaning up to do. And ultimately, I feel like it would, you know, and again, this is not bad, but ultimately there would be a lot more undoing of judgment of self and criticism of self, right? Again, because when we're acting from that unworthiness cord, it's a sure sign that we're going to have to do clearing of that once we get to a space that's even slightly above that frequency of unworthiness that we're acting from. When we, you know, get to a space where we rise, we can be sure that we'll look back and we'll see that we've been acting from unworthiness. And so everything that we did from that place of unworthiness, we're still sowing the seeds of unworthiness in whatever we're doing, no matter how successful we are. So eventually we're going to have to go back and clean that shit up anyways. So this is essentially saying, you know, give yourself space to not sow seeds if you're still not sure the place you're residing in when you're planting them, and giving yourself space for grace, giving yourself space for Spirit to come through and kind of do that deep cleansing of your subconscious, that purification of, you know, the bodily tissues, the organs, you know, allowing your energy, allowing Spirit to come through and to purify your psyche, your subconscious, so your energy can rise to higher planes. And so you're sowing seeds in wisdom, you're sowing seeds in love, and so you don't have all this kind of undoing to do down the line because you are so deeply wanting to prove yourself to yourself or to the rest of the world, right? So I hope this brought you guys something. I hope this confirmed something. I'm really curious of how this all is playing out in your guys' lives real time. So if you feel guided to leave details, please do in the comment section. I have a year's worth of tarot readings on my primary channel. It just felt time to split this stuff up. So if you resonate with my readings, maybe check out the playlist linked to that. And also know that I offer a 5-week coaching program. It's a pretty intensive coaching program where we deeply illuminate your internal world, because the more that we do the deep cleansing internally and illuminating those dark spots internally within a very safe vessel, a very safe container where there's no judgment and there's deep soul awareness and there's deep connection to higher self, and we're seeing more through the eyes of God, it's very rapidly that your external reality will start to flood in, right? And we don't have to work on manifesting and overly exerting our manifestation skills. It's like, no, we just gotta clear and calm the nervous system, and all of that's gonna come to us effortlessly. So if that resonates with you, go ahead and check out my description box as well. Feel free to send me an email or whatever. But I hope I see you guys soon. Much love.